Hi, I'm Gillian Bradford, a long-time behind-the-scenes writer and producer at The Squiz, and before that, an ABC journo. And this is the third episode in our special shortcut series all about menopause. Over the past 20 years, you'd struggle to think of a medical treatment that's been on quite the PR rollercoaster of HRT or hormone replacement therapy. Whether you've been through menopause or just clocked it in the news, there's been a whole lot of confusion and anxiety around HRT, largely because of a study back in 2002 where a lot of the reporting focused on the increased risk of breast cancer. Except that wasn't really the case at all, and a lot of experts have spent the next couple of decades trying to stop the panic. So in a minute, we're going to be joined by someone who probably knows more about HRT than anyone in the country, Professor Susan Davis. We really wanted to get Susan on because not only is she the head of Monash University's Women's Health Research Program, she was one of 5 founders of Jean Hales for Women's Health and is a past president of the Australasian Menopause Society. She has over 480 peer-reviewed publications, so you get the drift. She knows what she's talking about. So in this Squiz shortcut, she's going to help us get across why there's been such controversy around HRT, the different types of hormones and treatments, because it's not just one thing, and if every woman going through menopause should be taking it. Professor Susan Davis, thank you so much for helping us tackle this.
Oh, thank you for having me on and for the interest.
Susan, let's start with how our thinking about HRT got so messed up. It goes back to that 2002 study called the Women's Health Initiative, where thousands of women involved in years-long trials of different types of HRT was stopped early because of concerns over breast cancer. Well, that was the headline anyway. Can you explain for us non-medical types how this one study triggered effectively 20 years of confusion around this treatment?
So I think we have to go back to the 1990s. The study was set up with the belief that estrogen prevented heart disease. And after 5 years, there was a panic button because it looked as though the women getting estrogen and progestogen had an increased risk of breast cancer. And someone pressed the panic button. There was this extreme global panic. And as a result, people said, oh, you can take HRT for 5 years, but not more. And all sorts of reactions happened and all sorts of confusion. And it became a taboo topic to the point that if I suggested HRT to a patient, they almost ran out the door. But, some of us worked through this and other people basically stopped prescribing.
Okay, so where are we at today? Are the women who could benefit from menopausal hormone therapies getting it?
Unfortunately, what we've got in Australia today is we've got women who probably don't need hormone therapy taking it because they're worried that if they don't, they might get dementia. Whereas vast numbers of women who are highly symptomatic are not taking hormone therapy for either reasons that they're scared of it or the doctor doesn't know how to prescribe it or they don't think their symptoms are bad enough. So we've got a bit of a mess at the moment.
So talk to us about those symptoms, the symptoms that people are having who would be benefiting from this therapy.
Okay, so we have shown that in a paper we just published looking at over 8,000 women in Australia, that the predominant symptom is hot flushes and night sweats. And women who have hot flushes and night sweats tend to also have sleep disturbance, anxiety, mood changes, brain fog, weight gain, and they all track with the hot flushes and night sweats. So that's the sort of the really screaming symptom that the hormones are all over the shop or insufficient. And yet women are not getting treated either because some women we know feel, oh, my symptoms aren't bad enough. Or if I go to the doctor, they won't understand. So it's fear of treatment, fear that your symptoms aren't bad enough to merit treatment. And then on the other hand, doctors not feeling competent or skillful enough to prescribe.
Okay. And so there's a whole bunch of women out there not taking it who could be benefiting from it. Talk to us then about that other category of people coming to you hoping that it will stave off, as you've said, dementia.
So what we know is that there seems to be this phase of the perimenopause. So that's when women are still intermittently ovulating. Their ovaries haven't basically given up. Their ovaries are still intermittently working. And with those swings in hormones from the off-on action of the ovaries, women are experiencing what they would mostly describe as brain fog, poor memory, etc. And we know that settles down once women get through the menopause transition into the postmenopausal years. But it's really terrifying. If you keep walking into a room and you can't remember why you've come in, or you go to say, can you pass me the cheese? And you can't think of the word cheese. I mean, you start to think you're getting dementia, don't you? So what is clear, though, is not a single clinical trial has showed that compared with placebo, estrogen therapy actually fixes that problem.
Okay, well, next up with Professor Susan Davis, we're going to look into the different types of menopausal hormone therapy and if they're right for every woman. Professor Davis, for everything we've just said about the big controversy about HRT, actually, if you are a woman Googling perimenopause for the first time, and hand up, this is me, what you actually find is not people saying stay off HRT, but actually a lot of seemingly credible doctors and other health professionals saying every woman should actually be having the conversation about using it, that giving women natural estrogen can have big benefits.
Every woman should have the conversation. So you come and see me, you're having hot flushes, night sweats, irritability, anxiety, and sleep disturbance. I will discuss with you going on hormone therapy. And the thing that fixes those symptoms is estrogen. If you say to me, all my friends are going through menopause, I haven't had a period for a year, but I've got no symptoms, the next thing I would do is a bone density, because we know that you lose about 6 to 8% of your bone when you go across the menopause transition, even if you do not have symptoms. And if you don't have symptoms, I would then want to look at your bone density and see, are you at risk of progressing to low bone density if you lose a little bit at this time? And should you be on estrogen to protect your bones?
So some women get gels, others tablets, others these patches to wear on their skin. Is the average GP going to give you the high quality advice you need to make these decisions?
Now, there is a huge push that everybody has to be on an estrogen gel and progesterone because they're so natural. The problem is that a lot of women entering the late perimenopause or whose periods have stopped for over a year and are postmenopausal are still making some estrogen in their body. And so the lining of the uterus can still be a bit thickened. And sometimes you do need to use a synthetic progestogen for a few months to get on top of preventing unscheduled erratic bleeding. Some people do not absorb the gels or patches and need a tablet. Some people do not cope well with the progesterone that's like their body. They get either too sleepy, so the next morning they're sort of like hungover, they get bloating or fluid retention with it, so it's not right for everyone. So what's really important is we have a whole suitcase full. We have a smorgasbord of options.
What is the go with everything that's being said about testosterone for women at the moment?
Okay, testosterone's being promoted as the magic bullet that's going to basically fix fatigue, bone health, energy, sexual function, muscle function, on and on and on and on. And I've probably published the most studies in this space. We know testosterone blood levels decline with age. They do not change with menopause. The best example of the placebo effect is 2 studies that involved 1,000 women treated with testosterone gel or placebo. They knew they had an equal chance of getting testosterone or placebo, and placebo was just as effective as testosterone for sexual function, even in women who knew they could be getting placebo. So all this stuff about people feeling more energy and this and that, We've not been able to show it in any clinical trial. We're still looking, but women should not be taking testosterone as the magic bullet to feel better.
We really are doing women a huge disservice in this whole space, aren't we?
I think we are, because I think we're trying to promise women we can fix everything in their lives with hormones, and we can't. Life is very complicated. Getting your hormones sorted, alleviating menopausal symptoms will help, but it's not going to fix everything.
Susan, we're talking today about HRT, but tell me, when you have a conversation with a patient, how much do other things happening in their life fit into that conversation? Like, where do you put nutrition, sleep, their lifestyle before you even talk about HRT? Are they complementary or separate?
I think what our study shows dramatically is that hot flushes and night sweats are really menopausal. You can hang your hat on that one. But a lot of other symptoms women are presenting with might be exacerbated by menopause, but they're about life. They're about what's happening in women's lives. So, for example, if you look at moderate to severe depressive symptoms, the premenopausal women, 27% had moderate to severe depressive symptoms, and the highest rate in perimenopause was 32%. So women are coming into the perimenopause, bringing in the fatigue, the sleeplessness, the moderate to severe depressive symptoms, and not everything is due to menopause. Things will get worse possibly, but you've got to try and look at the root causes. Try and, as you say, address your nutrition, address your sleep, address your exercise. I mean, you're not going to fix your sleep if you're waking up 5 times a night with hot flushes and night sweats. But I also have patients who tell me, oh no, I've been having trouble sleeping for 10 years. Hormones are not going to fix that root cause from the last 10 years. So really be open to not thinking everything is menopause.
And Susan Davis, I want to finish with how women should be advocating for themselves in this space. And often your GP is the first port of call. What's something that every woman should be taking to their conversation with their GP?
We published what's called the Practitioner Toolkit for Managing Menopause. It is really simple and clear. It is free. Anyone can go online and get the document, and they can go online and get the full paper behind that. It is designed for women to read as much as their GPs to read, so that everybody can talk about it. And women can look at all the treatment options, all the doses, and say, well, I'm on this, but what about that?
Professor Susan Davis, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
That was actually the last of the 3-part shortcut series all about menopause and perimenopause. If you missed the first 2 episodes, you can find them in the channel, where we cover off what we can expect, as well as the important stuff that we can do for ourselves to feel better. Thank you for listening, and remember to share this episode with your mates who want to hear all about menopause. And don't forget, if you have an idea for a future Squiz shortcut, we love to hear them, and we love to hear from you. Just flick it through to hello@thesquiz.com.au. Until next time.